I'm Christa Hill.
And I'm Renee Matsella.
And we are the founders of Tacit Edge, a tech education company dedicated to shifting the demographics of women and visible minorities graduating into product management at top companies around the world.
And this is our podcast, Product for Humans, where we explore the human side of product management. We'll answer all your burning questions like, what is product management? What is a product? How do you get started? And why do you belong in product management? That's right, because you belong. We hope you enjoy the show. All right, folks, welcome to another product management Ask Us Anything. This one, we're focusing again on careers in product management and pivoting into product and technology. And we're so lucky to be joined by Cameron. Welcome, Cameron. For those who don't know, I'm Renee. We're joined also by Christa. We're the co-founders of Tacit Edge Product Leadership, and we could not be happier to have Cameron Christian, who pivoted into tech and is now a project manager at Evertz. Welcome, Cam.
Hi.
We are so happy you could join us. And I'm going to say also welcome to everybody on LinkedIn who's joining us live. We kind of start these off the same way. We ask Cam some questions. Cam told us all about his incredible journey into product management and project management and tech. And we love to hear from you as well. So if you can throw just a hi in the chat, say hi where you're calling in from. And then throughout, please submit questions because this doesn't ask us anything. So add questions and we will answer them in the second half of the LinkedIn Live. Or if we see questions that are really relevant right away, we'll get in there. All right. How's that sound, folks? Oh, and Christa, you are on mute.
Looks like we're still on delay on the live feed. So it still says that we're pre-live. So we may not get any comments for a couple of minutes yet. So now we're live. There we go. Now we're in. So we'll just catch up. So we're 2 minutes behind, just to let you guys know.
2 minutes behind. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's always good to know when we're asking questions and then we're like,
yeah, we're waiting like, okay, I guess we're waiting too.
Because we can be quiet and hold space for a really long time. So that's not something we want to be tested on.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this is so great. We're starting to see folks chiming in here. So we've got hello, Samantha. Deal. Oh, yes. Welcome to Calgary. Hello, Patricia from Chesmere. Thanks so much for sounding off in the comments here. All right. So with that, welcome. And Cam, can you please just tell us a little bit about yourself, what your current role is? Just introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Cameron Christian. I'm currently a project manager at Evertz Microsystems. Evertz is a broadcast equipment manufacturer. So we make hardware, software, encoders, all kinds of equipment and programs for the broadcasting industry. I've been there about 8 months now, and I've spent about 18 months since leaving my last career in broadcasting to now working on a technology vendor side.
Okay. So basically went from working on the floor in broadcasting to now leading products that service the broadcasting industry.
Absolutely.
Implementation. Okay.
Yeah. So 18 months ago, I was working as an operator in a broadcast master control operation in Calgary. And now I'm managing products for 6 different projects where we are deploying the same technology, except brand new technology, upgrading customers, and working with people to help develop the products that we service the industry with now. So it's a big change.
That is a huge change. Like, congratulations, Cam. Like, to go, like, it's a completely different role, it sounds like.
Absolutely. I will say, though, the knowledge I have for after 15 years of working in the industry as an operator is very helpful to understand the customer's point of view. So many people I work with are very technology focused. And so having the insight into the actual operator's point of view and the business side from the customer is very helpful working internally at Evertz.
Okay. So you're now working at Evertz, love your work, but as you mentioned, like you didn't start there. Can you tell us a little bit, about what your job was prior to Evertz and what brought you here?
So I started originally, I finished college at BCIT in television production. And so I got my first job working on cruise ships for 7 years, where I was on board doing shooting and editing interviews, doing live events, and actually producing and marketing a DVD of the cruise events for the week. And that was a very interesting experience because it did two things very well. You had to be independent. Sometimes it was me and one other person managing the entire operation. And on top of that, it was a very customer-facing job. So Royal Caribbean, who it was my employer all the time, was very big on training people in customer service, how to interact with guests and have a really good forward face. And that has been something, both those items have been very good for me going forward because you interact with people, you learn how to have positive interactions. And as a boss told me once, you have to be Marine. When you're by yourself, you just got to figure it out. And that is so important when you make a transition, especially in tech, where it's so big and things are so complex. And if you're put in a position, you just got to figure it out.
Okay.
And that's what people ask me.
Wow. So the ability to just figure things out and, learn that in your cruise ship experience. And then what after cruise ships, which is so cool.
We always have like weird competitions amongst product managers as who comes from the weirdest, most wacky background, because everyone's like, oh, well, I just need to know the path. And it's like, the path is you, and all of the interesting stuff you did is the path. So I can't wait to see what's next in the path, Cam.
Yes.
What's the next step?
So post cruise ship actually was so I was 29 and I had a bunch of money in my pocket and not a lot of ideas what to do next. And so I had this failed venture of I'm going to own and operate a photo booth. It was a horrible idea with no research and cost me a bit of money. So I pivoted from that very quickly and worked as an AV rentals manager. So I had a job at a small company in Vancouver where we would rent PA systems, microphones, and cameras to very small operations, and did that for a short period of time before I got hired on at Global Television, where I was working in the master control operation.
Okay. So master control operation, what does that look like?
So have you ever, when you see movies and TV shows and you see the big wall of monitors, that's what we did for Global. There was a room in Northeast Calgary where there was 32 channels going to air and all the technology for the entire Global broadcast network, all the camera feeds, American content, foreign content, servers for commercials and playout. All of that was orchestrated, coordinated, and then played out from our operations team. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that room was staffed and operated.
And you were one of those?
I was one of those people.
Wow. So like when on TV, when we say something like, cut to this, cut to that, like that was you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And specifically, one of our big events was PGA golf. So when we have to take American feeds and substitute Canadian commercials over live sporting events. So you're operating in tape delay. So you have to constantly be doing the math between a commercial break that was 2 minutes long that is then shortened. I have to move those commercials into later breaks and make sure every station across the country is getting their right commercials at the right time.
Oh, so we could have had you help us with this 2-minute delay on our.
Right. Or at least you knew exactly what we were talking about. It's not a thing.
So the one thread between all of those, though, was you're definitely required to be hands-on with a lot of technology. So that was definitely, like on the cruise ships specifically, you are thrown into an operation that is fairly small, but you're reliant on yourself. So you have to understand the technology, be able to learn the technology, ask questions and figure it out. When you're doing the rentals operation, you're on site by yourself, you have your gear, you have to make it work. And the television was very much the same thing. In live television, it is a time-sensitive operation. So you have to make the best decision with incomplete information sometimes.
Interesting.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it sounds very
Exactly.
familiar. Figuring out tech on the spot without necessarily like being an expert in that tech, although I'm sure you become an expert pretty quick. Making decisions in ambiguity sounds really relevant to product management.
Absolutely. And it definitely matters that you have the experience doing it because you gain confidence in this decision making a bit. Once you learn that you can bet on yourself in these decisions, you gain a lot of confidence the next time it comes up and the next time. And recently, with a huge career change, I have a whole new set of technologies and questions I didn't understand. But you have to give yourself the space to sit with the time and be confident that you're going to figure it out because you have before.
Oh my gosh. I almost wish we could just get a quote. We're going to get a quote and get this like tattooed on our arms. So like you figured it out before, so you can figure it out again.
Yeah.
So tell me about this. So you alluded to, you had to figure out how to pivot into tech. We've heard a lot about how amazing your job was before. And so what led you now to a completely different career?
Well, I'd kind of seen that, like I'd spent some time on film sets before, just with some piecework. I've been camera editing on set. Now I've been in the back end. I'd kind of seen everything I wanted to do in TV, and I realized that there wasn't much left to explore there. And the throughput of my career there was the enjoyment of technology. And so meeting some people that had been involved in it. I have a friend who has had several startup companies. So he's been very involved in watching his process and talking with people like you. It was very much sparked my interest. And fortunately, I was laid off from Global when they moved the operation. And it put me in a position where I was forced to make a choice. And then when I did, I gave myself the room to truly immerse myself in this new space. I gave myself the time to sit with the problems, to really become organized and driven on this goal. And that really helped make the change. Like I was committed to it.
Cam, I think that really resonates with a lot of folks in our, in our community right now, that layoff factor and just holding space for yourself to figure out what your next right step is. And maybe this is the time to embrace a big shift versus going back and looking for something that's very similar to what you were already doing, just to kind of keep it moving. Can you walk us through just a little bit about like your decision-making process? Like, was there temptation to just go try and find something like right away and just out of fear and panic? Or how did you really just like create that opportunity for you to say, no, education and the change, this is the time? Like, can you take us through what that looked like for you?
Absolutely. Because it wasn't necessarily an easy time either. My wife and I had two small kids, and, it's a risky time to make a move. Absolutely. Part of it was kind of sort of an anti-encouragement. I was watching some people who weren't making a change. They were looking for anything. And when I told them I was looking at doing big things, they were very much giving me sort of, really? You think you can do that? Or why would, it was very much almost like they were saying, you can't do that. And which, it gets me excited when people tell me I can't do things. So wasn't so much of an encouragement. I was an interest, and then people sort of implied that maybe it wouldn't be possible. This was combined with a lot of people who were very supportive about any decision I would want to make, who were encouraging me that, yes, you're smart. Yes, you're capable. Absolutely, you can do this. But it was the sum of the people who were implying I couldn't, or also not challenging themselves. They weren't valuing the same career path that we had just been on together and didn't see it as valuable.
Yeah, and could be operating too, just painting their own anxiety into helping you make a better choice for you. But what I want to circle back to is something you said, a few minutes ago where you're like, I was already comfortable making a bet on myself. And I think did that come into this? Like, did you see it that way again, that you were going to make another bet on yourself?
And I had to remind myself of that several times through the process. As I had sort of made the first choice into this is what I want to do, it was very challenging to then figure out, okay, I know I have this skill set. I've got years of working in broadcasting, and it seems so simple now to make this connection. But at the time, I had such a hard time figuring out where I could apply this. I was like, okay, well, Netflix hires people, they deliver content. And it took me an embarrassing long period of time to realize, oh no, I've been using technology in these jobs forever. All of those are software companies who need product managers. And it seems like such a simple thing to say now, but that was 2 or 3 iterations of where I could apply my experience to. And when I figured out that every technology I've used is a place that would want my experience, it became clearer about where to go. And then putting in the effort to actually track down these jobs that we're hiring. Broadcasting is a very small community. And so this job and another job that I was actively searching, I didn't find posted anywhere. I had to go to their websites for their internal job postings because they just weren't showing up on the general search boards. Did that kind of get around to sort of what you're looking for? Like it was a constant reminder that I had to bet on myself and I could do it. And I just had to stick with it and it would be there.
Yeah. What gave you the confidence, like in those times where, because you went, okay, layoff, then now you have this job. There were a lot of, we know there's tons of steps in between there where you're getting like, maybe you're not getting that interview. Maybe you're not getting a call back. What did you do to keep betting on yourself in those moments?
Well, it was good to be surrounded by people that were also going through the same thing. When I took the boot camp class, there were people that were going through a similar stage of life as me. Like they were not necessarily laid off or they were laid off, but they were definitely looking for their next challenge. And we had a community. So we would go to these tech events. We would go to Product, YYC and the platform and go to these things, meet people, see other events that were taking place, other projects that were in development. And then along the way, a friend of mine, we started our own project. And even when things weren't coming up for us, we're like, hey, that's beautiful about this is we can just start working. So we took our own idea and just started hashing it out. And we've been building it now for, I think, probably 10 months. And we're still hacking away at it, making progress. And it was good because it kept me excited. And then when you realize you're excited about it, other people get excited because of you. So we would go to these other events and we would talk to people. I would get to talk about my event and people could see that I was excited about technology or I had ideas. And it also made me more interesting to those people who were the gatekeepers of the jobs and more information. So it was something I thought that helped in a whole bunch of ways. Even if this project doesn't actually manifest anything, I've already got so much out of it.
Amazing. So you had a project with a friend on the side and you did project work like in the applied product management boot camp as well. How much did both of those contribute to where you are right now?
Oh, absolutely. As far as my understanding to communicate, and I think the actual act of doing a real project is so important. Even my very first college is a very applied, hands-on type experience. And that's my personal favorite way to learn. So you have to do it to learn it. And the thing I realized as you get into doing this, the bar for entry is so low, you just look for ways to do it. Our first product that we started doing was a free jot form. And we built up a user base of 30 people that I bullied into using it for a month and a half. And they gave us feedback. And the feedback was great. And we were able to iterate every week with a new version, make small changes and get feedback. And eventually we got accepted into SAIT's software development program as a capstone project. So some SAIT students have recently just finished their project on our product work we did beforehand.
Oh my gosh, so full circle. I forgot
Yes,
about that.
exactly.
So layoff, realizing that you might have a real knack for tech, then taking the product management bootcamp, doing some projects, then starting your side project, and then you got the layoff. That's kind of the timeline I'm seeing here. Is that correct?
No, so I was laid off first.
Laid off first, yeah.
I was laid off
Okay.
before all of that.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
And then while I was in the boot camp, we did our projects. And then as that was winding up the boot camp is when we started our own side project. So we had the side project going after the boot camp while I was in my job search. And then even after I got my full-time position, we are still pursuing this side project.
Oh gosh. Can you tell us more about what the side project was and is? Because you're still doing it.
Absolutely. So how long does it take you to pick a movie to watch with your partner? Exactly.
So if I'm on my own, my standards are much lower. But if someone else is in the room, doesn't matter who it is, all of a sudden it takes like 45 minutes. Whereas if it's just me rolling solo, I'm like, anything will do.
Absolutely. This is right. So according to our studies, the average user spends 25 minutes trying to pick a movie on Netflix. And that's for one person. The numbers go north of 40 minutes for a party of 2 or more. And in my personal life, I just know watching people, either it goes to someone is scrolling and like, how about this one? And someone's going pass, fail. Like the other study I saw said that a very large number of people actually just give up. They log into Netflix for 2 minutes search, go, nope. And then they don't watch, they do something else. So we invented Cinematch. Cinematch is an app that will give you a curated list of 30 new movies every week in a Tinder-style swipe box, left, right. You and a partner who you've called your movie buddy will perform the same task every week, and it'll give you your top 3 matches. Based on our user feedback, the whole process takes less than 2 minutes. It's a curated list every week, and this will, in theory, drive more people to watch more movies and have less pain to get there.
I love this so much, but I also want to talk about like, how did you test this? Because we do a lot of work in the entrepreneur community. Testing the business idea is incredibly important, right? To make sure we're validating our thinking, our own individual pain. Can you share a story with us on how you tested to see like very early days if you were getting the kind of response that we just gave you, but maybe at larger scale?
Absolutely. So we started just with some friends asking, how do you decide to pick movies? And we realized very quickly, like we were talking to people like us. We needed to get different people. So my friend Michael and I, we went to the movie theater at Scotiabank, and we had some $5 coupons, and we just started asking people, hey, can you do a quick survey? Here's a $5 gift card if you want to talk to us. And we managed to talk to 4 people before they asked us politely to leave for harassing their customers. But I will say,
I love this. This is like pure product management, being escorted off a property.
Yeah.
Like this is like a badge of honor, Cam.
It was a wonderful experience. I haven't been kicked out of a movie theater since I was a teenager. It was.
You're not sure on this format why.
For very different reasons.
Right. But the feedback we got specifically from 2 of those customers was such insight about how young people, so we talked to 2 people under the age of 18 who we wouldn't have had access to. And immediately we changed a whole aspect about how we were presenting the information and what they were looking for. And some of those decisions are at the core of how it's being developed today.
Wow. And then
And it cost us $20.
$20 and a little bit of just a shred of dignity. Just a smidge of dignity.
Right?
I think honestly, it is a product badge of honor to like, you know what, we need to talk to someone different from us. And I know also like you did a ton of prototyping as well, really rapidly. Like, how did you do that in your product?
Well, we literally spent probably 4 or 5 different websites about trying to find different ways to present a list of information in an entertaining way. And so we started just with like a Google sheet. We're like, all right, here's them. We just got screen grabs of movie posters, put them out there. And then we iterate one week with, all right, here's the poster. What information would you like to see? All right. So we started adding a synopsis or a PG rating or Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, no one really cared about the synopsis. It slowed down the process. Ditch that. And then, okay, now we need to find a better way that has a better UI. So we found a Jotform page, which actually has a closer facsimile to a real interactive website that we still just built in an afternoon, the 2 of us, for our first version. And so we were iterating every week.
Every week.
Yeah.
So
It just turned into a product management masterclass of like how to be scrappy and cheap, test in an afternoon and learn, like increase that feedback loop so you're learning faster, failing fast, but in that failure is like an insane amount of learnings. And it's not actually failure. Like I hate that we paint it that way. It's just like, it's such an opportunity to rethink like that kind of work as a team. Like,
And it,
blows my mind, Cam.
and it wasn't even fast. It was cheap. That was the other thing we were both looking at, because Michael and I, he got laid off from Global as well. We were both unemployed. We did not have money to sink into this project.
Mhm.
So that $20 out the gate, we were like, listen, like we do that one more time, and that's kind of all we've got budget for. So it was fast and it was cheap were the two things we were looking at. And it's possible to do. And once I realized that, that's when it was, you can do this. There is almost no gate to get started. On top of that, Michael and I both have no idea how to code. And so we were doing all of this with very, very little engagement at a core technical level. It was all concepts, UI, and problem solve.
Okay, another one. You don't need to code. I feel like, we just need to have like giant clocks,
Like clips from Cam.
Yeah.
Just reminders. Yeah.
Yes. So folks are thinking like, oh, I need to learn how to code, or I'm not technical enough. Like, Cam, there's so many learnings from your story that like you are more technical than you think. Like, we all use technology every single day. We're interacting with it. We're learning. We understand it, and understanding the user perspective is more important than anything. And you do not need to code.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's so as we've progressed, Michael has picked up some coding skills, but again, like we are constantly deferring to people who actually are experts on that.
Yeah.
So cool.
So, and in your job now, like, so, cause you have Cinemanage, and then you are like a technical project manager, which I know which it's a bit of a hybrid project and product manager type role. What skills are you bringing to the table that helps you get that job?
So first of all, I would say learning that this job was going to be about client expectation management. So it's very customer facing. And so my ability to understand the industry that I was working in and how to interact with a customer out the gate were very important ones. So having that to start, learning from your course and other experience is just about the workflow of the technical environment, how an agile workflow goes when you're trying to develop a well-established enterprise level project. Mediator is the name of our software. It is huge and immensely complicated. I am constantly shocked as I learn more aspects about it. And the teams that work on it, they're incredibly smart and have huge backlogs. And so learning to understand their workflow, how to work with them, and then also what the client expectations are about their product and their needs and how to get them all met in a timeline, and then communicate to everyone. Being able to take that information and make it understandable in an easy way for all parties. That seems to be the hugest thing in project management, is making everyone aware of what's happening. And the second big thing is I'm completely comfortable asking dumb questions. I tell people all the time that is my first job. And it does two things. It helps me learn what's going on, but it also requires that people explain what they're doing in a way that I find helps them understand it better. If you can explain it to me, you know what you're doing.
Yes. Yes. Asking dumb questions. I forget who, there was a product manager at some point was like, my job is just asking dumb questions. But they're not dumb questions, because they're the questions that get at the heart of the, wait, why are we here? What are we doing? What are we trying to achieve?
Absolutely. And part of that comes down to a vision. If you can ask the dumb questions to help people acquire you ask it, I think it was 5 whys. Dumb question, a why is the simplest dumb question. When you think about it, every other thing is a diversion of why. And if you drill it down enough, people will figure out why they're doing it at the core level.
Yes.
So awesome. Can you take us back to like your decision-making process when you're going through this and you're looking at education? You chose the Applied Product Management Bootcamp at SAIT to sort of kick off that journey for yourself because you felt like that was your fit. Can you share why you thought that was a good fit for you and just take us through that like 12 weeks and how it was for you and like some of your aha moments along the way?
Sure. So the decision-making for that was relatively easy. I looked at several other programs that were doing similar type work, but this was the only one that actually had the applied part. Previously, when I went to BCIT, the best part about BCIT was day one, it was a hands-on program. You were holding cameras, you were shooting, you were lighting. That is how you learn something. The selling point for me on the state program and your guys' work was the second half, you're getting a business partner. They have a problem. You're going to work with them and solve the problem. I was sold. You're going to teach me how to solve a problem. I'm in. And so that was a big one for me as far as how to choose what education I was going to see. And as far as I remember it clearly because the first week was terrifying. The information presented to me was so foreign from what I had been doing. And I definitely had that little moment of, have you done the thing? What are you going to do? But I had told myself, and I was giving myself the space to sit with that, to sit with being uncomfortable and had bet on myself that you're going to figure it out. And by week 3, I was already seeing the light of the tunnel, like, oh, it's clicking. The parts that you knew you'd be good at are there, and it's all starting to wrap together. But definitely it is involved with sitting with it. I gave myself the time to sit with the content, understand it as much as I could, research it. If I don't know what's going on, Google things, look for companies that are doing types of work, understand what a waterfall workflow is versus an agile workflow. Very simple stuff that if you don't know is daunting.
So you sat with, I'm the theme I'm really marveling at through your story, Cam, is just like, your go get it. Like, this is hard, but I'm going to sit with this, and I'm just going to go for it anyways. And I'm going to bet on myself. Where did you get that confidence in yourself to keep moving?
Oh, man, I don't know. We talking about my parents. We could talk about playing sports. I don't know. I think you have to have it. I mean, and everyone does on some level. You just have to find what it is you are doing that for. I mean, you don't get through life without betting on yourself a bit. If you're mid-career, how did you get where you are now? At some point, you didn't know what you were doing. That's the best way I can look at it. And if you stop betting on yourself, well, where are you going to go next?
So true. I remember a moment, and this was one of the most memorable final demos of all the cohorts we've ever done, by the way. Yours still is so crisp in my mind when you were asked. So just to set the stage for everybody, during the applied component, you have like 6 weeks. You're given a product problem. You're working cross-functionally with a team. Everyone's brand new to this product. It's not like we get to pick them based on what your background is. It is like, it's a total wild card. You ended up getting something wildly technical that was like way outside of your zone. But the way that you answered the questions of the client at the end of that demo was like you had been doing it your whole life. And I remember thinking to myself, this is Cam like 4.0. Like that is what went through my mind, after having worked with you during that cohort and just seeing the evolution and what was happening and all the clicking that was going on in your mind. And we're talking about like RFID, like things that were so technical about like, and here's, the punchline of the product is that you never have to worry about losing your key card ever again. And as soon as I say that in the room, everyone knows that. They're always like, oh yeah. Oh man, wouldn't that be great? And the way that you went like back and forth with a very technical person about the actual application, how it was going to be implemented, decisions that you made around like which technology we were going to use and why. It was like, my mind was just exploding watching you just all of a sudden. And Renee's got some great vernacular around like Pokemon. Like it was like a mega blastoid moment.
Yeah.
Like, just like,
yes.
And
you're mega evolved.
Like we witnessed it, right? Can you tell me like for you, I know that was just my perspective on what was happening, but what was happening for you in those moments?
I remember specifically because I was a guest who was asking the questions afterwards. Yes.
Yeah.
So it was
a very technical human. Yeah.
Yes. And I remember part of it was I felt challenged. I didn't know who this person was. And I was fortunate. Like I'd done my homework. I had spent so much time just like, okay, this is what I'm learning about now. So downtime, I'm researching RFID. I'm looking up case studies. I'm looking up government plans for future cities, just to become immersed in the product and in the space. And there's a saying from rugby, I can't remember who it was, is luck follows speed. The idea is that the faster you're moving, the more you're there, the more likely you are to get the ball, the more likely you are to catch a break. And so it's just about staying with it and learning as much as you can, even ancillary information about it. You never know what is going to connect the line somewhere that'll make a point. I even remember the tagline. It was something about like the last key you'll ever need or something.
Yeah, it's already in your hand.
It's already in your hand. You already have the last key you ever need.
Yes.
And exactly, that just comes from looking what other people are doing, what the technology is, and then seeing where other problems might be with that. And fortunately, I had done my homework enough. Then I was posed with questions. I was able to
But after
politely
only 6 weeks,
give them
Cam,
answers.
this
It
is
was
what
6
blows my
weeks.
mind, is that the majority of product managers, when we're out in the world, like we fashion our onboarding time to be like a few months. And that was what was so shocking to me after, decades in this industry, watching you just like, and again, without being wildly technical, you knew the why behind the product. And because we had spent so much time on that, I felt like it was, pure curiosity that got you within such a short space of time to being what I would think would be a product manager that has been working with them for years.
Well, thank you for that. Technical, I think, has an interesting title because while I'm not technical in the sense that I don't know how to code, what I have done is build things, like real things. I've cut lumber and made houses and tables. I've plugged in network systems before at a very operator-based level. And if you can understand that level of technical, a process of it, all you have to do is change the parts. It's all plumbing when you think about it. And if you understand that core level, you can just transpose the technology. You don't need to know how to code to understand that technology works because a signal flows from here to here and does this. And sometimes here it changes. It's all the same, but different.
You're so right. Because that's what we see time and time again, that the best product people are the ones with just a couple years of experience, have some experience of something else, then come to product with fresh eyes without, the bad habits that a lot of us learn when we are thrown into product management. Like a lot of product managers are just thrown into this role and we're just like, oh, hopefully this works. And we just try stuff and hope for the best. But when folks come with like who knew that woodworking would bring the baseline technological understanding that you need to thrive in this role?
It even comes from the base understanding I had about product versus project. I remember having this conversation with my father talking about the difference. When you're doing a project management, you're building a house or a skyscraper or a parking garage. The first thing you do is dig all the hole, pour all the concrete, put walls up and a door. The door is one of the last things to go on. With product, you want to dig the smallest hole possible and a little concrete and get a door just so you can get someone through to figure out, should the bathroom go here or over there? And then you build that as that happens. And then as they start going through, we're like, great, now we'll put some finishings on and make it look prettier. Whereas to construction, you need to do the whole thing. With product, you want to get people in and testing it as fast as you can. That is the only difference.
Yeah. Oh my God. Another quote. Another one. Yeah.
It's like this whole session is going to be the Cam's greatest hits album of demystifying, right, for industry, why some jobs are more interesting to other people and for what reason, right? Like what gets you excited about working, right? Digging the big hole or just the little, right? Like what is that for you? And I think we have a lot of folks in our community that come from project management that are, taking a look at what we're doing over at product and saying this kind of feels like this is how I'm naturally doing things already. So why not, right? Come over and learn a little bit of product and bring it back into where the environments that they're working in today.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I do want to give a shout out. We're going to be here for another 20 minutes or so. If you have questions, please share them Because you can see here that Cam is just a wealth of knowledge around broadcasting and pivoting into technology and then now thriving within this role. So please take this opportunity to ask whatever questions you have.
And how are you feeling about your future now, Cam? Like when you think about Cam 5.0, Cam 6.0, what does that trajectory feel like to you now versus before?
It feels really good. I'm in a company. Well, first of all, I'm getting lots of positive feedback with where I'm at now with customers and coworkers. People have been accusing me of doing project management for 10 years already. I politely say thank you. But the company is growing. They're definitely leaning into developing more software-based solutions. They are very big on internal development. So the ability to progress inside this company is high. And I'm looking forward to getting involved with that too. They're doing some very neat things coming up that I can't wait to be a part of as a product.
Oh my gosh. Can you tell us a little bit about like some of the projects that you've worked on with your company?
Sure. So the main thing I'm working on is a software called Mediator X. It is a media asset management. So let's say you're a big broadcaster. This software will be responsible for ingesting all of your new content, storing all of the metadata around the content that helps you mark, like, this is a movie about seagulls or whatever. Then the software is also responsible for moving the content from the archive to the playout and between different playout systems. It is incredibly, and also transcoding. It'll transcode to every different flavor that's required for playout or archiving or quality control. So it's a very huge beast of a system that very large companies are using. And I'm across several projects out in the Middle East, some big American broadcasters, and some regional Canadian public broadcasters as well.
Wow. So tell us, so you're working with different types of companies all over the world and you have a project management title, but we know like your product management hat you're wearing all the time.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about like your decision making around when you saw this project management role? What made you say, oh, actually this might be a fit?
Well, two things. One, the company is definitely willing to work with you. They be, hey, let's get you here, get you trained up in all the details on here, and then we can look at getting you into product side as well, which I'm like, very cool. But also, it's such a highly configurable piece of software that there is so much work that is detailed and customized for each of our enterprise customers that you're doing a lot of listening to what their pain points are, what their struggles are, and then working with development teams to bring solutions to their problems. And that's the great part, is you can truly understand what the operators and owners are going through. And how can we make this easier? How can we reduce the lift? And so much of the things that the company is doing, the product I was just describing requires lots of on-site servers and hardware. We're currently moving lots of these customers to the cloud. So several large companies like Discovery a couple of years ago moved 100% of their broadcast ingest and playout operation to cloud-based. So when you go to their office, you will see people working on terminals with the PC. There are no server racks anymore.
Wow. And so you went from being the person on the ground, seeing the server racks, now being the person that is leading the implementation of the products that are...
It's worse than that. I started learning how to edit video tape to tape.
At least you didn't say reel to reel.
No, I saw those, but yeah. So I went from beta tapes to completely working on cloud-based workflows for huge corporations.
And so I would love to just acknowledge here that you are very technical. And you do have a technical background, and a lot of the people that are looking to pivot into technology that think that they aren't technical, they actually are. It's just in different ways.
Yes, it's very much realizing what your specific niche of it is, and then finding a way to take your desire to do product and capitalizing on your experience. Broadcasting is not a big space, but there is definitely work there. There's growth happening still because the industry is transitioning, and there's so much movement from RF signals and SDI cables to software-based solutions and software as a service. It's happening all across the industry, and it's in a growth right now. So they are looking for people that have experience and an inclination to get involved. And this is probably true across so many sectors. You just have to find out what it is.
And yeah, you clearly found out what it was. And like, we're hearing a lot of rumblings like, oh, the market's so bad. There's layoffs, there's this, that. And you like graduated into what folks are describing as a tough market, but you were able to find your spot and find your place. And now you're thriving. Like, how did you do that despite being in a tough market?
I would say definitely was finding the niche, even as far as like resume writing, going from the people pleaser on your resume. I can do everything. I'm not really worried about an industry. I realized that what people were hearing was nothing special, and they're seeing 15 people in the next 10 minutes and just file that under uninteresting. Making yourself stand out was important. And so niching yourself actually increased your chances against what I originally thought. And then also doing the project. I found that getting my own project to work on not only made me feel better about what I was doing. I wasn't just wasting time filling out resumes. It was interesting, and I got excited. And when I talked to people, they could see I was excited about things. They became interested in what I was pitching. And so that helped the interaction, and it kept me learning as well. As I'm developing my own thing, you're keeping it sharp. You're keeping it fresh. So I think all those things helped separate me out from other people.
Yeah. We see that a lot where folks are kind of blanket, like applying this, apply here, apply there, and there's just nothing. And then as soon as they find out what makes them special and they start targeting that, all of a sudden things start happening. And how did you find that for yourself? Like you mentioned earlier on that, it took you a while to find it. What was the like moment where you're like, oh, wait, like this is what makes me exceptional?
It's weird to think about myself as exceptional, but yeah, it's funny. It was literally like, I remember there was 2 or 3 different moments where it happened. And one of them was literally in the shower. I was thinking about Netflix, and I'm like, I don't want to work for Netflix. Like, that's ridiculous to try and work there. And then I just started thinking about movies and how I watched movies. And then I went, oh, wait, like Global, the company I was just working for, has an app. And I'm like, oh, what a simple solution. Here's all the contacts I have already from my industry. And then as I went to work a week later, as I'm sitting down to go and work on an Evertz IRD, which is a satellite decoder, I was like, wait a second, they've got a graphic interface. Someone wrote the software. I bet they need help writing software. And then, oh, wow, Evertz does all this other stuff I hadn't been exposed to before. And they're rolling out brand new leading edge things. Oh, wait, here's 2 other Canadian companies that are huge in the broadcasting space. Let's reach out to them. Let's see if I have their contact. Let's look on LinkedIn to see who's doing this. It's simple stuff like that. It just really, but it's all about spending the time. Like, you have to sit with an idea and just noodle it over, and you'll be amazed what comes out of it. Advice I got somewhere along the way told me, if you don't know what to do, find something you can do. You can write that down too.
Well, I'm so glad this is recorded.
We have a lot of folks that, talk about they're leaving one very specific kind of work that they've been doing in the past, or trying to pivot into product or into technology, and they can't take their network with them, right? Like, they look at the network that they've built for, say, the past 10 years, and it doesn't apply. And I think what you said there is really interesting, because it does. Go back into that network and see who in those companies that you used to be really close with before whatever is going on in your life today, and what technology are they working on? And there are roles in their new ones that they've created, obviously, to move those businesses towards technology being at the core of their organization and their business operations, which is, let's face it, the movement of every organization right now towards having tech at the core of their business in some way, shape, or form. So your network isn't a throwaway. If you've been in an industry for a really long time and feel like you can't get a job in there, maybe it's the pivot to look at it through a new lens. Right? Just as you said, Cam, like Googling who they're working with on new technology and innovations, finding those partners and going to look for a job with those partners. I think that's genius. Like, I never had that perspective before you said that. So good.
It's literally just exactly. You've been doing something for 10 years. You've got your 10,000 hours. You are an expert at that, and you've used tools doing it.
Mhm.
All right. That makes you, by proxy, an expert at that tool. Go talk to the people that make the tools.
Yeah.
And it sounds so simple to say, but it took me an embarrassing long time to draw a simple conclusion.
So I am just noticing here. So we do have some comments on LinkedIn. They didn't come through to StreamYard. So we do have questions online for you, Cam.
Sure.
So I'm just going to read them out here. One is, what did you notice were some of the differences between working on like a capstone project in the education you're taking versus your real work that you're doing now?
The big difference in the real world, I find, was access. When you're in the real world, you actually have unlimited access to anything you want or need, just with an escalation. If you want to talk, you have a question, talk to your boss or their boss. They'll get you the answer because everyone's invested in you solving the problem you've been given. Our partner was very good. We were able to pressure them into giving us access. We went to their facilities to see the hardware being manufactured. We talked to their engineers. I know some other people didn't get that access. So that would be a big difference, that if you have questions, they're absolutely available to you in the real world if you're willing to ask for them. And definitely ask for them. And learn as much as you can.
But as far as the actual things that you were doing in the capstone versus the things you do in the real world, did you find that there was a similarity in the action, in the activities, rather, or not?
I would say there's definitely a similarity. It is slightly different because it's not being laid out for you. And that was the big change. It was, again, back to the confidence vetting yourself. Like, okay, we have a greenfield idea that we're starting with. What do we do? Okay, do something. And then that leads to the next. And as far as where I'm working on an enterprise project now, like there's definitely a established chain of events. So there's a protocol that you follow, which is in some ways easier because there's a workflow you can work with, but it also is limiting a bit. And then you need to try and figure out other ways around. So there's definitely things that can be taken from it, but also I've seen things are unique depending on where you work. Every station, TV Talk, every different company has a different way to do things because they're so boundless when you're dealing with software. You can create anything and create it any way you want. So finding the way that works for you, finding the way that works for your company, finding what works for your customers, that's really important. And what worked for our capstone was great. We took a lot from that to our project, and I've definitely taken a lot of that for the technology company I'm at now.
Awesome. We've got so many questions here. Another one, like, how did you find yourself fitting in the product management field after switching your career? Is there any fear? Are you fully confident working as a product manager now?
Fully confident. That is a very loaded statement. I do not think I will ever feel fully confident because you are constantly being thrown questions. And part of it is living with the ambiguity, living with uncertainty. And that's what it's about. So I'm confident, sure, I guess so, if I think about it enough. But I love the fact that it's constantly throwing new challenges. That is what I'm seeking for a career. So much of television became a factory to me. I was going to work, turning out the same product every day. There was no challenge to it. This is a constant challenge every day. So, yes.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think you could ever be I think if you're fully confident in product, you're working on a really boring problem.
Or you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. Or you're doing it wrong. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think, there has to be a little bit of like, is this going to work? Because you really don't know.
Well, and I think it's more just about the confidence that you know the next right step will become apparent to you. Like you have faith in the process, and the confidence is in the process and your ability to be in it. Not so much because I think, if it's just us and it's like, I am awesome, then you're missing something. Something is not being seen. There's something you haven't considered that someone's not telling you.
Yes. When it comes to absolutely like the ability to trust the process, 100%. Like I've seen it already work, even with the capstone, what we were able to start with and deliver, my personal project and the things I'm rolling out professionally at Evertz. You can, if you trust the process, you will get a result you're happy with. And be confident with that. And then as you speak to other people, you need to be confident in that. You need to be confident in yourself and your work to other people.
Yeah. Okay, Cam. Well, we've got 5 more minutes. So I'm going to ask you one more question and then we'll wrap up here. This one's from Angela. So how did you craft your resume and present yourself in an interview for a position you had not done before?
Crafting my resume it took many revisions, and I did work with the team at SAIT a lot. We did several revisions and a lot of guess and test. I wrote things and then I change it. I get no feedback. I would change it up. I started to get some traction. Okay, bending this way is working for me. So highlighting aspects of work that I had done that I did not previously realize were product related. Looking back into your history and realizing, oh, wait, I didn't realize that this was actually taking user feedback and making a better product over time. You know, for me, it was simply the idea of, we used to market and sell this DVD of people's vacations. And I was fortunate enough to work with this producer on a new rollout of a new package. And we tested it over the first 3 weeks. We would shoot, we would get feedback from people as they're walking off the boat with their DVD. We would change it and roll it out again. That is product. It really was. It was a physical product of a video, which is no different really when you look at the process we were doing. So finding that in your life and at every aspect, and then also how you communicated with people, other things you had managed in any aspect. Did you manage a football team? Okay, well, you had a roster, you had a budget, you had travels. This is all things that require input and people skills, which are huge. So those are the things that I found in my resume. But whatever you can pull out for your experience is important.
Whereas if you've solved a problem and tried things and learned, you can do product.
Lovely.
Thank you so much for joining us. Like, your story is just so incredible. It's so inspirational. It's just such an example of how if you bet on yourself and you believe in yourself, you can find this amazing career. So to close us out, I will just share we'll share in the chat just the link to the SAIT program that Cameron took. That's where we all got to meet and experience these incredible things. There is actually funding for this program. So if you're in Calgary and have financial need, reach out, DM me or Christa, just connect with us and we'll send you the information. And please check it out. And Cam, thank you. Do you have any last words for us?
Thank you both very much. The amount of time I got with you guys in the program to validate, gut check ideas I had, and really sort of explain to me what I was doing and how I was already doing it. And I just didn't see it that way. You guys gave me the confidence and backed me up into even the next steps that I was going forward. Like I knew I would be good at it by the time I left because you guys told me, and I believed it. So thank you very much for helping me along the way.
Cam, thank you so much. We appreciate you. And I mean, watching your journey through that course was such a gift. And to be live in that demo, just watching you, I mean, I knew in that moment, Renee and I were on opposite sides of the room, but I just looked at her and she looked at me and we were like, that's it.
Like, oh, there we go. Product manager in weeks.
Right?
Like,
You're an
well,
incredible
in 6
human.
weeks. Yeah, it was incredible. So yeah, Cam, the pleasure was all ours. Like, seeing just your zest for life and learning. And it's such an inspiration. So thank you for sharing your story with us and our friends here on LinkedIn. I know people have so much to take away from this.
Well, I'm glad. And if I could help anyone else with the transition, it's a scary time. So I wish you all luck as you go through it. And it's out there. Just keep looking.
Yes, it's out there. Keep looking. Yeah, and reach out again. Start the journey. We're making it really easy. There's funding.
for folks. So please connect with us on LinkedIn. We don't need finance to be a barrier to enjoy such an incredible career like Cam has. So thank you,
Everyone. See you next time. Have a great holiday. We'll see you back in the new year.
Year in the new year. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, rate and review this podcast, and you might find your review in a future episode. Please subscribe to Product for Humans wherever fine podcasts are downloaded. To get more information about Product for Humans and our content, please visit our website at tacit-edge.com, tacit-edge.com. We'll see you next time. Okay? Should we do it one more time?
Sweet. Yeah, let's do it.